Do you think Dwayne Thomas is doing the right thing by his negotiations? Do you think he's under the influence of the wrong type of individual in having an agent?
Well, I can't say. I have a lawyer who handled my negotiation and handles all of my business affairs. So I really don't know. I haven't talked to Dwayne since the Cowboys came here the first time. I guess it was in March.
Right.
And I don't know what's on his mind. I don't know what his contract calls for or anything. It's certainly a very unusual thing he's doing, but I don't know. It's hard for me to say.
Would you, as Calvin Hill, forget a year of playing football? Say, put yourself in Dwayne's place. Of course, you say you couldn't, but you think he'll report? That's what I'm trying to get around to.
Well, I think he's going to report. There's no doubt in my mind that he will. Although I think he said that he's going to retire, but that could be a very political thing. I'm not sure. I haven't talked to him, and I shouldn't really comment on it. But I have to think he's going to report until I see him not report.
Let me get your opinion on this too. With a team as full of so many veterans as you have now in the Cowboys, with competition in, say, the spots like Waters and Harris and Morton and Staubach and you and Dwayne, do you think that'll spur the other fellows on who don't have so much competition and turn you into a better ball club?
Well, I think there's competition every year. Unless you are Mel Renfro or Herb Adderley or Bob Lilly. But other than those three, there's going to be competition at each spot.
The world of animals never figured into our planning at all, actually. This has been a long part of a long-range program that, as I say, was begun 4 years ago, and we are merely implementing those long-range plans.
Well, do you feel that the world of animals being so close that this will hurt your financial endeavor here?
I wish that I were in a position to make a comparison between Lion Country Safari and World of Animals, but unhappily I cannot. For this reason, I haven't been to World of Animals. I haven't seen it. I don't know what the operation is. I hope that during my stay here that I will get a chance not only to visit World of Animals, but Six Flags over Texas and the others. But as I say, that we are merely implementing long-range plans. Lion Country Safari is a large corporation. We plan far in advance, and we were going to come here whether there was World of Animals or no World of Animals or 3 Worlds of Animals.
Welcome to the continuing story of politics in Balch Springs. This is the story that asks the question, can anyone find political happiness in a southeast Dallas County town of 13,000? That question came up June 14th when 3 members of the City Council resigned, one of them the mayor. The 3 said they were protesting the use of the tax dollar. Now Balch Springs faces another election Saturday to replace those 3. Gil Hunt, John Nelson, Marie Hughes, and Buddy Sutton have filed for the open council seats. Patricia Taylor, L.M. Begley, and Joe Jarvis are in a 3-way race for the mayor's position. The Balch Springs Progressive Committee wants to get more people involved in city government in Balch Springs. That may be a moot question. It seems there are only 2 types of people in Balch Springs, those who don't care one way or the other. One person out here said they wouldn't care if the devil himself ran. The other type is those who are madly partisan for either one side or the other. A lot of the people in Balch Springs would be happy if things would just settle down. But the political history here doesn't make that seem very likely. Today, one of the candidates charged partisan politics and allowing signs to be placed in cars here in front of the City Hall. That finally got ironed out, but it's probably not the end of the matter. Another issue seems to be building codes and zoning. Some citizens complain there are no adequate building codes or zoning ordinances. One man told me today that lots of people criticize Balch Springs, but he said, at least we don't own our soul in federal aid. Let's see you put that in the paper, he said. I wish I could help him. So Balch Springs girds for Saturday's election, another note in the continuing political story of Balch Springs. Phil Reynolds, Channel 8 News on the Move, in Balch Springs.
I'll probably go to Phoenix and then I'll come back within a couple of days and stay here. I'll be back and forth between this one and Phoenix.
How much is this going to hurt the circus?
Well, of course, it'll always the horses, but we can substitute. We'll be all right.
Do you think the horses are going to be blocked from going into the next state?
Well, they will be for 14 days.
What are you going to do about the other show, the blue show?
Well, when I can get the vaccine, I'll probably fly up there and inoculate those animals also.
Are the horses being allowed to go in the next state?
Yeah, they're in. Of course, they weren't in Texas when this came into effect, so they're all right.
Have the horses shown any sign yet of sleeping sickness?
No. I mean, these animals are perfectly normal.
Did you try to get it waived for these horses since they're special cases?
No, I don't think he could do it. I mean, there was a regulation passed that there's quarantine, and you can't go against those things. That's the law, and we must abide by it. We'd hate to think that we'd spread something.
It's the noon meal. It's a simple luncheon consisting of sandwiches and fruit. But the problem of setting up, preparing, and serving that meal to 2,300 persons attending the convention is staggering. To start off with, you got to have 150 gallons of iced tea, 1,200 sausage sandwiches, 2,000 meat and cheese sandwiches, 1,500 submarines, 5,000 sloppy joes, 3,000 fruit bags, 10,000 ice creams, and 200 watermelon. To serve, these lines will be in operation very, very shortly. The iced tea comes through hoses from the next room, and that's the big room where you'll sit, and it'll accommodate 1,800 people comfortably. Now, every one of these people that you see, men, women, and children, are volunteers. They receive no pay, and they love every minute of what they're doing. In 1958, on a larger scale, the Jehovah's Witnesses prepared food for and fed over 250,000 people at one sitting in New York's Polo Grounds. Watching that operation closely was the United States Army. Now, Uncle Sam finally decided that it was not feasible for them to utilize the Jehovah's Witnesses methods. They left the Polo Grounds muttering something about a fallacy in their volunteer system. This convention will continue through Sunday. If you're counting, that's about 10 miles away. Jerry Park, Channel 8 News on the Move, Fort Worth.
Skyjacking, I think, to quote the Bible, it too will pass.
Do you think then that that particular surveillance will eliminate hijackings as we know?
That plus the fact that it's not just the electronic surveillance alone. We know the characteristics of the hijacker. We have an elaborate intelligence gathering net now. We have cooperative efforts going between the Federal Aviation Administration, the FBI, local police authorities. We know what criminals are afoot. We know where the fugitives are, what they're about to do, and all of these things together, the intelligence, the surveillance devices, the sky marshals, the attitudes of the airline security personnel, all of this in total is going to really squelch this whole affair.
It's no different from last year when I went to training camp. I had a job, but I knew that I had to win the job in training camp to keep it, and I think it's going to be the same as it was last year. I'm not going to camp feeling indifferent. The only difference is that I didn't have a job when the season ended, but I feel confident that.
How are you physically? You had a lot of little nagging injuries last year, didn't you?
Yeah, I have a shoulder that still bothers me, but I feel fine. I feel real good. I think running-wise, I'm in pretty good shape. I weigh a little bit more, but I'm not going to worry about that. I think I'm in pretty good shape, and I'm looking forward to it.
thaw was long overdue in the relations between China and the United States, but the method of the president's announcement, of course, was a very dramatic one, based partly on international politics, with Russia's pressure on us in the Mediterranean, turning it into a Russian lake, and the pressure on Israel, and our fear of losing the Arab oil rights that we have. That was part of the international picture. Part was the president's growing unpopularity at home and an attempt to shore that up. And it is very unusual in that it proposes a visit. We asked to visit a person, the head of a state which we won't even recognize. This is really a de facto recognition of Red China. If a Democrat had proposed this, he would have been labeled a traitor and a communist. Of course, Nixon won't be, and I'm glad that he won't be, because the only danger I see in it is not in the United States, not in Europe, but in Asia. This is going to be looked at as a knuckling under, a bowing down, a surrender. Not because we make the movement, but because we go in inside Red China to have the meeting, instead of meeting at a neutral ground at Hong Kong or at the Panmunjom or somewhere on the borders of China and Russia on the Chinese other border.
We would like to do it again if we have enough interest in it. We have a waiting list for this airplane, but we have the trouble in scheduling the airlines with the airlines on the 747. We could only get this one. We couldn't get another one, and we don't know when in the future we might be able to get another one.
How much did this end up costing you, or did you sell all tickets?
We sold all the tickets. We had very little cost to the chamber itself.
In view of the irrational attitudes of the present government in Peking, in view of their international banditry and their exportation of the most dogmatic, virulent, and bellicose brand of communism, and in view of our long alliance with nationalist China, I am disturbed about the President's announcement of last evening. I fervently hope that this will not signal a so-called normalization of relations with Peking on Peking's own inflexibly stated terms, namely, their recognition that there are not two Chinas and that Formosa is a province of the so-called People's Republic, and their call for the abandonment of American mutual defense commitments to Taiwan.
The circus has gotten the vaccine, and I feel like if they can get it, we ought to be able to get it also. My horse is just as important to me as their horses are to them.
What are you going to do about it if your horse does come down with something?
Raise Cain. I've already called Austin this morning and the Department of Health in Dallas and gotten a runaround and finally got referred to Washington. But I'm going to keep on trying till I find vaccine somewhere. My vet says that he may not be able to get out here until a week or 2 weeks. That all he can do is put my name on a list.
As a result of a statewide meeting of health officials in Austin today, I've received information this afternoon that we expect it to be in the Dallas, or at least the north central Texas area by Wednesday of next week.
Now, how will this be distributed once it gets here?
The information we have is that the United States Department of Agriculture will be the distributing agency, and it will be distributed to veterinarians only.
I feel pretty good. I feel like I'm in pretty good shape. My knees are all back healthy, I hope. I can tell you more about that after about a week, but I think I'm in pretty good physical shape right now.
What is your personal thought on Dwayne Thomas? Do you feel he'll report?
I sure hope he does. He's a great asset to our team last year, and of course he's a great athlete. So I personally, feel that he will come back. I don't think anybody that plays a game of football can just quit after 1 year.
Well, I sure hope that the beginning of this training camp will take up where we left off last year from the Super Bowl game, leading up to the Super Bowl game. I hope that the atmosphere will be a real pleasant one among all the ball players and coaching staff and everyone, just as the season ended, and I'm sure we'll be looking forward to a great year.
Well, I don't think it'll be really any different than any other year. I think we'll go along and try to gain momentum as we go. We hope we don't wait quite as long as we did last year to get started on the road to winning. I think this year, just improvement in our passing game and to really improve the finer points of our overall game will be the basic things that we'll work on in training camp.
Do you anticipate any difficulty in coming to terms with the Cowboys?
No, I don't think so. That's the reason I'm going out. I hope not. I hate to miss training camp because I think anyone who missed training camp sort of miss a lot of work that they need to get ready for fall season. So I hate miss training camp. In the past, players who miss training camp end up with a bad year, so I don't want a bad year. That's one of the reasons I'm going. Plus, I'm quite sure that we can work out something when we get there.
Beverly, Jethro's leaving you with your arms full, isn't he, this year?
He sure is.
How old is your daughter?
She's 4 months old.
Well, she'll probably have grown a few pounds by the time you get back.
Yeah, she's a little overweight now. She's at the weight now which an 8-month-old girl should be.
Is that right?
Yeah, so she's a little over.
Well, have a nice camp, Jethro.
Well, thank you very much.
You play the ball into Tommy, and you two come in from the right-hand side. You play it behind the wall, diagonally, okay? You understand? Yeah. Okay, let's go and try it. Come on. Push and make it a good ball. Tommy, you push right against Rick now. Wait for the whistle. That's it, Tom. Push it. That's the way. That's it. Okay, well done.
As you conduct these camps, is the coming game in the back of your mind, Phil?
Yes, the coming game is always in the back of my mind.
So it's the Washington Darts Sunday afternoon there. What's it like playing away from home in a soccer match? Do you feel the crowd rooting for the other team?
Yes, you feel it very much. It's always hard to play away from home because you always seem to be put on the defensive when you're away. The other team seems to have more atmosphere and the crowd are behind them and they come at you a little bit harder.
It would seem that Washington might let down a little bit since they have the victory here last week, don't you think?
I don't think they'll let down any bit. They're close on our heels and they've got to go as hard as we do. I'm sure we could beat them.
What type of an attack do you think Ron Newman will have you Tornadoes mount this coming Sunday?
I think you'll go with a 4-3-3. It's not a defensive attitude, but you springboard your attacks from the defense.
The two candy items are the 1-pound Catherine King assortment of chocolates and the Pecan Butter Crunch Bar. The Food and Drug Administration, FDA, said this morning that minor contamination had been found in the King candy plant in Fort Worth. Following that disclosure, the company let only a couple of hours lapse before announcing that both lines of candy have been recalled to the factory. The FDA says that it found rodent and insect contamination in the factory and in samples of the two candies. It's not certain what harm this contamination would be, but as a safety precaution, it was considered wise to call in the 6,400 boxes that were actually shipped out. If you have a box of King candies at home with a lot number on the box, 1162 or 1011, it might be best not to eat the contents. That's lot number 1162 or 1011. It's better to be safe than sorry. Jay Lewis, Channel 8 News on the Move, Fort Worth.
If you're going to sell an area or a region to businessmen or just to the residents of the region, and you had over $3,000 to spend, you'd probably rent a hall. But not so with the City of Arlington Chamber of Commerce. Instead, they rented this jumbo jet 747 American Airlines. And they're showing everyone the future, as they call it on the tickets. This is your passport to see the future.
We will find out, we will discuss the different violations of the law by HEW in the different, the different areas, as well as the Justice Department. And at that time, we'll have our leaders and our executive committee, as well as our legal staff, decide on the lawsuits we're going to bring in the course of action. We will also meet with a number of members of Congress that we've already been working with the last 3 years. I'll assure you that our southern congressmen and senators are soliciting northern votes to help us because they see people moving out of communities. This is a very great concern in Dallas.
They say, well, they have to center their efforts in the southern states because that is where we have de jure segregation. Well, we did have de jure segregation in the southern states at one time, but the Supreme Court has wiped out de jure segregation, so there is no such thing as de jure segregation any place in the country because it's been rendered illegal by court decision and sometimes by outright repeal of the law. There is as much conscious effort to maintain neighborhood schools and in that connection, if that is the result, to maintain a segregated school system in the North as there is in the South. Indeed, statistics now show that the South is far more integrated than the North is.
Dr. Young says he's going to ask individual members of Congress, both the Senate and the House, for support in his move to get the South treated equally with the North.
I have always supported that, of course, and will continue to. Indeed, Indeed, Peking's condition for acceptance of admission to the United Nations is withdrawal of recognition of nationalist China. I do not know what has motivated the President in this move. Perhaps it's our steadily diminishing capability to cope with Soviet expansionism and growing Soviet military power. Perhaps it's from a feeling that mounting isolationism here at home no longer permits an effective American presence throughout the world. Perhaps the President has been led to believe that the establishment of a liaison with Peking might lead to Chinese intervention with Hanoi to stop the war. Whatever it is, the President owes the American people an explanation. I hope it will be forthcoming soon.
Senator, what do you think this new apparent liaison with Red China will lead to?
I can't say. I have no idea what it will lead to. It will depend, I suppose, on whether or not the Chinese continue their usual intransigence.
Do you expect a reaction from Congress?
I'm certain that there will be a congressional reaction. I can't say precisely what it is. I'm only giving you my individual reaction.
In a word, Senator, what was your reaction to the statement?
One of surprise, I would say. Perhaps I shouldn't have been surprised because the President has indicated that he would like at some time to visit China, but I would have thought there would have been some more overt action on the part of Red China to show goodwill or desire to thaw our relationships before the President made this announcement. This is the way the Department of Agriculture explains it to me, that unless you vaccinate all the horses in a given area, you run the risk of actually conveying the disease through the vaccine. That is to say, when the vaccine contains a virus that actually immunizes the animal by giving him a mild case of VEE, after that horse is vaccinated, a mosquito could bite that horse that has been vaccinated, go over and bite another horse that has not been vaccinated and transmit the disease to him. Now, this is an experimental vaccine, and this is why there was some reluctance on the part of USDA, I think, to release it. I think they were much too slow in releasing it for statewide use.
People say you can't get enough of a good thing. So happiness to a preschooler is 2 Christmases in 1 year. For 28 kids in the Oak Cliff YMCA, Christmas came in July. All week long, the 4 to 7-year-olds practiced carols, made stockings, and Christmas cards. They wanted Christmas in July so they could put their Christmas orders in good and early to Santa Claus.
What do you want Santa Claus to bring you? A what? A G.I. Joe. Well, fine, and would you take good care of it if you had it? Fine, all right. Let me give you some candy here.
I'd like to ask for lots and lots of snow for Christmas this year because Dale Milford has given us nothing but hot air this summer.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what we can do about that.
This is Donna Witkowski for Channel 8 News on the Move.
Fine.